One second I was on a mission in Afghanistan, and the next I was suddenly on a train. I was completely lost, with no idea what had just happened. There was a woman sitting across from me who kept talking like she knew me well, but I had absolutely no clue who she was. Right then, a passenger's coffee spilled on my shoe. I was about to say something, but everything around me was so unfamiliar that I couldn't be bothered. The conductor came by to check tickets, and I was still in a daze. Luckily, the woman reached into my pocket like it was nothing, pulled out a ticket, and handed it to the conductor as if I'd bought it myself. But ever since we boarded, this woman had been calling me Sean. My name is Coulter, so I formally introduced myself.
Look, I can see that you think you know me, but I don't know who you are. My name is Captain Coulter Stevens. I fly helicopters for the U.S. Army in Afghanistan.
She just laughed it off like I was joking. That really wore me out. Then I glanced at the train window and saw something terrifying. The face reflected in the glass wasn't mine. It belonged to someone else entirely. Startled, I jumped up and headed for the restroom to get a better look, but someone called out behind me.
Hey, mister. Hey.
Glenbrook Station.
Turned out he wasn't calling for me. A passenger had just dropped their wallet in the aisle. I was curious where this train was headed, and a young guy told me Chicago. That happened to be my hometown. After years in the military, I hadn't been back in a long time, but there was no time for nostalgia. I hurried into the restroom, shut the door, and worked up the nerve to look in the mirror. I couldn't believe what I saw. I pulled out a wallet, but the ID inside read, Sean Fentress, occupation, teacher. Now it made sense why that woman had been calling me Sean. My strange behavior caught the woman's attention, and she asked if I was okay. But while we were talking, the train had already pulled into downtown Chicago. The next second,
Everything's gonna be okay.
a massive explosion tore through the train, killing everyone on board. Yet I woke up in some dark, enclosed space. A female military officer was speaking to me. Thankfully, I recognized her, Captain Goodwin. I immediately asked what was going on, whether this was some kind of military drill, but Goodwin didn't answer. She just kept pressing me. Who set off the bomb? How would I know that? When it was clear I had nothing, Goodwin sent me back onto the train, telling me I had 8 minutes to find the bomb in the bomber. Before I could even process it, I was transported back to the train, 8 minutes earlier. I snapped awake. The woman across from me was saying the same things again, and sure enough, coffee spilled on my shoe just like before. I was full of questions, but right now I had to find the bomber. So I started scanning the car for anyone suspicious. I quickly noticed one guy who kept asking the conductor when we'd arrive at the station. Normal people don't get that anxious unless they're the one who needs to get off before the blast. But that was just my guess. The woman explained he was just a comedian, and the suspicion faded. After watching the entire car, I still couldn't identify the bomber. So I decided to look for the bomb instead. The last explosion started from the rear of the car, which meant the bomb might be hidden in the restroom. I rushed over and started searching everywhere. After digging around, I noticed the edge of a ventilation panel was slightly pried up. Someone had definitely tampered with it. I pulled it open and climbed up through the duct. When I turned around, there it was. A bomb weighing at least 100 pounds. I was at a loss, so I asked Goodwin how to disarm it, but there was no response. We weren't even in the same space. I did notice a cell phone wired into the bomb, which meant the bomber had to be using another phone to detonate it remotely. So I posed as a conductor and told the passengers to shut off all electronic devices. If the bomber couldn't use a device, the bomb couldn't be triggered. But most people refused to cooperate, pretending they didn't hear me. Some even questioned whether I was really a conductor. Watching them curse and complain, I had no choice but to back off.
Sean! What are you doing?
Other passengers tried to call the police, but I stopped each one. Christina demanded to know what I was doing. I told myself none of this was real, just an illusion, so it didn't really matter.
I'm not real? How about next time you drive to work?
There's not gonna be a next time.
As a flash of memory swept through me, I woke up again. This time, though, I was shaken. The explosion had felt completely real. But Colin didn't care about how I was doing. He just kept pressing me over and over about who the bomber was. That set me off right then and there. I needed a break. I'd just come back from a mission in Afghanistan. For God's sake, I needed rest. But what Colin said next stopped me cold.
You've been with us for 2 months.
Did you ID the bomber?
No. Where's my unit? And under whose jurisdiction is this simulation?
Captain, this is not a simulation. Lives are dependent on you.
No, what lies? What are you talking about?
After I kept pushing him for answers, he had no choice but to check with his superiors.
Sir, I need to give him something.
That's fine, go ahead.
Once he got the green light, he decided to tell me the truth. That train wasn't a hallucination, it was real. At 7 this morning, a terrorist detonated a bomb on board. Everyone on the train was killed. The teacher named Sean was among the dead.
No, I'm right here. You're talking to me right now.
Colin didn't explain much beyond that. He just told me to find the bomber, then sent me back onto the train. After dying and coming back 3 times, I'd grown a lot calmer. First, I set an 8-minute countdown timer. I dodged the coffee a passenger was about to spill, then started analyzing every suspicious person in the car, ruling them out one by one. That's when I noticed a suspicious man coming out of the restroom. I was about to follow him, but the woman behind me made me stop in my tracks. I didn't want her to be blown to pieces in 8 minutes, so I grabbed her hand, got off the train with her, and settled her somewhere safe. Then I tailed the man back to the restroom. Something was definitely off about his eyes. I was almost certain he was the one. I followed him outside and asked to borrow his phone, but because I'd been following him the whole time, he was already on guard. He refused and turned to walk away. Since playing nice wasn't working, I decided to play rough. I rushed him and grabbed his bag. I got it in the end, but there was no detonator inside. The very next second, the train exploded again. That proved he wasn't the bomber, but I still wasn't ready to give up. I was convinced the detonator had to be on him somewhere. While we were struggling, he kicked me onto the tracks. Before I could even get to my feet, the train was already barreling toward me. I heard my bones shatter, and then I was back in that space again. But this time, something was different. The space was starting to freeze over. I asked Colin what was going on. He said it was because I'd changed someone's fate inside the source code without authorization, so the system was punishing me. On top of that, saving Emma was pointless. She was only rescued inside the source code. In reality, she was still dead. I asked what the source code actually was. My superior explained that it was based on the computational principles of quantum mechanics. In simple terms, it's like how a light bulb still glows faintly after you turn it off. In the same way, after a person dies, their brain retains 8 minutes of memory traces. The reason I could inhabit Sean's body was because we had similar builds and appearances. My superior used that to transfer my consciousness into Sean's body, but no matter what I did, I couldn't change the fact that the train had been destroyed. According to intelligence, the bomber was a demolitions expert, and his next target was Chicago. Finding him wasn't just about solving this case, it was about preventing more innocent people from dying. Time was running out. Colin sent me back onto the train again. This time, I didn't waste any words. I anticipated everything that was about to happen.
Soda can. Coffee spill.
Following Colin's instructions, I headed to the upper level of the train, where there was a handgun that could help me track down the bomber more easily. But luck wasn't on my side this time. A crew member caught me red-handed. When I woke up again, I was already in handcuffs. There were only seconds left before the explosion, but I still wanted to hear Emma say one more thing.
Tell me everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be okay.